Om Namaste, everybody. Welcome to the session by Hindu Center of Atlanta on the topic of spiritual teachings, and it's Yoga Day today. So we'll be dealing about, as the theme of the International Yoga Day of 2021 is Yoga for Well-being. So we'll keep that subject for today. Let's start by bringing our mind to focus. Sit down straight, close the eyes gently. Deep inhale and exhale. And while exhaling, we are going to chant the name of Isha, Om, the universal sound, and focus on our own chanting. Focus on the vibrations of our chanting, moving across the body, and feel the inner peace. Om. 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 Join the palms together, rub them gently, cover the eyes, slowly open the eyes below the palms. Namaste and welcome. I'll be going through share screen. So it's a yoga as a holistic approach for wellness. Well, if you look at the goals of human life, it's generally to be successful, to be rich, or to be famous. But ultimately, after success, after being rich, after growing famous, yet we don't have satisfaction in life. Something is still missing there. We have had the pleasure of being successful, of being rich, of being famous, but there's a missing link there that doesn't yield that inner peace which we were looking, and that is happiness. The goals of human form of life, for whatever we do, we are striving to stay away from pain, sorrows, and afflictions. That is Duhkhon se Chutnaa, and be happy, Sukha ki Praapti. On this path of Duhkhon se Chutnaa, Sukha ki Praapti, move out of pain, sorrows, and afflictions and be happy. The yoga philosophy, yoga darshan of Maharshi Patanjali offers us guidance. It says, hey, Hetu, know the causes that will empower us to avert pains and sufferings, and Hai Upan, adopt the principles to be happy. And Maharshi Patanjali, the authority on yoga. If we look at the common yoga protocol, which is there since 2015, when the first International Day of Yoga was celebrated, it talks about yoga not being solely on the mat. Yoga is about yoking the mind, the body, and spirit, putting the balance within our life. And in that sense, Maharishi Patanjali says, Yogaschitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is when we put a pause to the fluctuating mental and emotional activities. It's the silence from the flux of mental and emotional activities. So, how do we achieve that? There's one sutra in the Patanjali Yoga Darshan, and which applies not only to the practice of yoga, silencing of the mind, but also to all field of life. It says, Sato dirkala nairantara satkara sevito drir bhumi. For whatever we practice in life, we need to practice over a long time, dirkala, then constant regular practice, nairantarya, with total commitment, passion, love, devotion, satkara sevito. And this applies to all fields of life, whether we are cleaning our room, whether we are driving, whether we are running a bicycle, whether we are walking. If we look even at the baby starting to walk, the baby practices walking over a long time, constantly, regularly, then gets the balance and the confidence to move around. So even our baby steps count in coming to the progress that we've been achieved today as youth and adults. Then let's learn about the types of pains, afflictions, and sorrows. The Sankhya Darshan leads us Adhyatmik, Adhibautik, and Adhidaivik Dukh. And this is what we pray for in the Shanti part when we say Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So Adhyatmik Dukh refers to pains, distress arising from within oneself. It may be physical illness, mental distress, conflicting desires, mistake, etc., which are of our own making. The second one, adhibautik dukh, adhibautik pain. It refers to misery that result from interactions with other peoples. The most visible are wars, genocides. The most common dispute with family, friends, and relatives, co-workers, etc. The invisible part of it is the mental torture, harassment, exploitation, and also includes interactions with other living beings. For example, insects, snake bites, sorry, loss or death of a pet, etc. Then there is also Adhidaivik Dukh. Adhidaivik Dukh refers to agony arising from natural disasters, calamities, drought, floods, storms, tornadoes, etc., earthquakes, tsunamis. But look at life. Most of these events, they are easily detected by other forms of life. Like in tsunami, we see the animals moving towards the higher grounds. When there would be storms and floods, we find the ants going into their own habitat. So each and every of them goes for shelter. It's humans, if we didn't have the science of meteorology, would have been just wiped off as Khan Pralay. Then let's look also at other causes in our life. The Yoga Darshan says avidya, smita, rag, dvesh, abhinivesh. These are the 5 kleshas, or the 5 things that leads us to pains and sorrows. Avidya, the absence of knowledge, impartial or incorrect knowledge, illusion, and all the things. It's also taking clean things for being unclean and clean things as being clean. And the most common avidya is about this body. For whatever we do, the outer makeup, we need regular maintenance. One example, if we don't brush our teeth regularly, bad smell comes out of it. If we don't bathe regularly, our body starts stinking. So for whatever we do with the outer makeup, we also need to spend time for the inner makeup. This is avidya. Then asmita is about the individuality, the concept of me, mine, and myself, often confusing myself with my emotions, my feelings. And when we are engrossed in emotions and feelings, we fail to understand that within this body, there is something which drives this body, because this body is only matter. That thing, when it leaves the body is dead. So we shouldn't confound that inner self, which we call the soul, Atma, Jivatma, with our body, with our feelings, because the soul is the driver of this body. And the soul has total control over the mind, over the emotions. But it requires practice, training to be able to master that. That is about asmita, the muddled situation. Then there's rag, which is about attachment and addiction to mental impressions, to objects, to things or persons from which we derive pleasure. And when the reverse occurs, the same things stop giving us pleasure, we have aversion, and this aversion is known as dvesh. Then we have abhinivesh, the fear of death, the loss of identity, and that's why we cling to certain things in life. We've seen death daily, but still we believe we are eternal. It's only for others, it's not for us. So let's realize that everything born will come to an end. And the beauty of it is to be remembered for the good things that we did when we've left this world. Then the other sources of unhappiness is krodha, lobha, moha, anger, greed, and fascination. So if we go on that path of the sutras which says sato derkale nairantara satkara sevito dharir bhumi, we will see that if we practice taming the monkey mind, and taming the monkey mind involves regular practice, and this has been the case, whether it's the upbringing of children, whether it's been sports, whether it's been learning, whether it's been in research, in discoveries, in inventions, it's always been like this. And more so, if we want to tame the mind, that requires deeper and deeper practice. And once we tame the mind, we'll be in total control of this body. Just as when we start driving our car, we're in total control at the steering wheel for whatever we are doing. Unless we are not paying attention, we are not mindful, we are not careful, it's the same in our human life. And the yoga philosophy teaches us to identify the obstacles to the silencing of the mind. Vyadi, physical imbalance, sickness; Dhyan, playing truant; Sanshay, doubts. Then Pramad, irresponsible, unconcerned attitude; Alasya, little or no consideration to put up efforts to realize the goals; Avirati is overindulgence in the matter of senses. And this is one cause of addiction. Then we have Bhranti Darshan, contrary knowledge. Like even in countries which don't have a snake, if you just hang a rope in a dark room and anyone entering the dark room will just feel something hanging, the first thing that comes to the mind is snake. So that's contrary knowledge, false knowledge. Then we have alabdha bhumikatvat, failure to achieve the goals. Then we say let go. But unfortunately, we need not, we curb under this feeling which we need not to. We should try and try and try, and ultimately we'll reach our goals. Then there's anavasthit tattva. This is about, we've already realized certain goals, we stop the practice, and the next time when we do it, it's hard to achieve the same levels. So these lead to a surge of mental and emotional activities. If we're able to identify those, then identify the symptoms that disturbs us. The one is dukkh, grief. Dormanasya, post-failure irritation. Angame jayatva, shaking of the limbs. Shwas prashwas vikshepa is irregular breathing. If you're able to perceive those small things in life, we'll be able to surf over them, rise above them, and be in total control of the self. And we are on the path of yoga. And in the same line, Maharishi Patanjali shows us the path to behavioral attitudes. We meet all sorts of people in this world. So the sutra says, Maitri Karuna Mudeta Upekshanam Sukha Dukkha Punya Punya Vishinam Bhavnas Tashchit Prasadanam. Says Maitri towards those who are happy, Sukha, Karuna, compassion for the Dukkha, for those who are suffering, Mudita, be happy with those who are joyful, those who've been ethical and progressed in life. And upeksha is about being indifferent towards the cruel. If we adopt these four attitudes in life, we'll solve most of our problems, especially as regards to our interaction with others. Generally, what happens is that when we see people happy, we burn within ourselves. And remember, like a candle which burns itself gets shortened. So the sutra says, be friendly towards those who are happy. We have things to learn, especially when we go on the third edict, which says mudita towards punya. That is, we be joyful towards those who are ethical, who've been successful in life on the path of righteous living, righteous earnings. We have lots to learn. We can follow their footsteps and in turn be joyful, be happy on the path of righteousness. Then compassion towards those who are suffering, towards the needy, that enables us to unfold the human values within us. Then the last one is about upeksha. It's just like when we are driving, we have so many scenes, so many occurrences going on the side of the roads, etc. But our target is just our destination, and we move ahead continuously towards our destination. We are all indifferent, paying little or no attention to whatever is happening sideways. Then remember, these are the things which contribute to healthy living. Janma Ushadhi Mantra Tapa Samadhi Siddhaya. Achievements result from birth. So we should be careful. We are being nurtured by our parents. So when we are parents in turn, we should be careful, especially when we are conceiving a child and growing the child. Food and medicinal herbs form another part of our life, because when we are born a baby like this, probably 3 kgs, and then from there we grow to an adult, probably coming to 50, 60 kg. So it's all based on food. And we have to be careful with the food. If the more we tend to sattvic food, the more we'll be sattvic in our character, in our actions, in our nature. Gun, karma, sabhav. Then there's mantra incantations. The Yoga Sutra says, Tasya Vachaka Pranava. So when we start meditation to bring the focus, let's use the universal sound Om. And when we use it like this, we'll find that we've been able to bring our mind to silence, focusing only on the chanting and on the vibrations. Then for whatever other mantra we use for jap, Maharishi Patanjali says that japas tadartha bhavanam. Know the meaning of them. And with the meaning running in our mind at the time of chanting, our focus will be only in the mantra jap, in the chanting of the mantra. And from there on, we'll be having the one pointed mind, the focused mind, and we can use that in all aspects of life. So that is the beauty of it. And yoga itself, the word means to join, to unite. We'll be able to unite our thoughts, our words, and our speech, our actions. We'll be able to unite our body, mind, and spirit. And we'll be able to unite our personal life with our family life, with our community life, with our social life, and with the whole world at large. We'll be the human beings, not only by species, but will be human in the way we are doing and the way we react to circumstances. That's the most important, essential part of it, as taught by the Vedas, Manurbhava Devyam Janam. Then the other thing is Samadhi Siddhaya. So on the path of Samadhi, there's one step which we learn there is Tapa. Tapa is about enduring austerity that builds up our resilience to adverse situations. And when we develop resilience to adverse situations, what happens also, like enduring to some extent, hunger, thirst, heat, cold, etc. It's whenever we cross somebody who is suffering, say from malnutrition or from thirst, we'll be able to spare our lunch or dinner and give him that plate of food. We'll be able to spare our bottle of water for somebody who is thirsty, because we know we've eaten in the morning or we're going to eat soon for the next probably lunch or dinner. So we learn to be human also. And whenever we face such adverse situations, we've already developed resilience, we'll be able to endure them without much disturbance. And that is where we realize life as a true human being. And the first level, when we are happy, the concept of wellness in yoga is about physical, mental, spiritual, moral, and social happiness. So the physical level would be taken by care by regular practice of asanas and pranayams, the bundle of physical exercises and breathing exercises. Then when we go on the path of yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, etc., what will happen? Yama and niyama starts putting discipline in our life. Then asana, being stable in one comfortable position over a long period of time. Then pranayam, breath control. Pratyahar, introversion of the senses. We start developing moderation in life. Then dharana, the focus. Dhyan, meditation. And samadhi is self-realization, realization that matter serves us still. So we are living in this body. After that, the body itself returns back to matter. And realization of the supreme consciousness, that is yoga. And on that path, we achieve the ultimate point of self-realization and realization of God. Then the holistic approach to wellness also is free words. Whenever we are faced with adverse situations or uncomfortable situations, let it go, let it be. Koi baat nahi. Will not lose our temper, will not lose our calm, will not lose our serenity. And if the other party goes worse, leave it to karma. Ishwar nyay karega. Remember, karma is a boomerang. For whatever goes, it will come around. So the one creating the ruckus, he will be disturbed, he will be stupefied by our serenity. So we are calm, we've maintained our balance, our level-headedness, let alone what the other will do unless he learns the same things of his life. So अपने मन की शांति की चाबी जो है दूसरे के हाथ में नहीं देना, अपने साथ रखें. Keep the keys of the happiness with you. It's just like when you have a car, you keep your keys with you. You don't give it to somebody who don't know driving to run the car. Otherwise, it's lead you to the gutters or you'll have a crash. So let's have the same attitude to life. For whatever others do, that's their making. I am responsible for what I do. And when I am responsible for what I do, I am undisturbed by whatever happens around me. Occurrences of nature are there, I'll be able to accept them and probably develop resilience to them. For whatever others do, that won't affect me. For what I do, I'm responsible. And remember, for what I do includes all aspects of life. Regularity in life, discipline, a time to sleep, a time to have food, a time for exercises, a time to sit down in silence and be with yourself, and a time, quality time for the family members around us, quality time for our friends and relatives. It's all a question of putting discipline. As we say, yoga अनुशासन है और उसको जीवन भर धारण करना है. Yoga is about living a life of discipline, a life of regularity, a life of constant practice to be able to be firmly grounded on our living values, the human values of life. And such attitude will empower us to be happy at all times, undisturbed by the occurrences. I just hope I've been able to unfold the holistic approach to wellness. And remember, when yoga talks about wellness, it's always about physical, mental, moral, spiritual, social levels. So when we start from there and go ahead in life, we recognize the signs and symptoms, we recognize our own making, we are aware of each and every step we do in our life. It leads us to a state of, as we say, awareness, consciousness, mindfulness, or whatever we call it. And on that path, we'll always succeed in life. So let's practice yoga. Exercises for good physical health. Practice focus, meditation. Practice the tenets of yama niyama, social and personal discipline. Ahimsa, satya, steya, brahmacharya, parigraha. Ahimsa, non-violence, asteya, non-stealing. That is, not taking things of others without the permission. Brahmacharya is about self-control, discipline, focusing our body energy on constructive things. Aparigraha is about non-accumulation of superfluous things. And in these times, dire times of COVID, especially during the lockdowns, we learned that the essentials to maintain a decent life are a few. But why do we rush? Why do we run for things that are superfluous? It's not to be happy ourselves, but rather to please others and to stop what others would say. If we go into that, what others would say on what I'm wearing, how I'm dressed, on how I am, if I say, koi baat nahi, let it be, then I'll be able to have time for myself instead of running 36 hours in a day. I'll be able probably to save at least 1 or 2 hours to be with myself. And remember, on that path, then there is the niyama, sauch, is about purity of mind, body, and spirit. Santosh, be content, be happy for whatever we have in life, and don't be unhappy for what we don't have. We'll put up the efforts for whatever we earn from our efforts. We'll be content with that. Tapa, I talked about that, is about enduring to some extent the difficulties of life, developing resilience, facing austerities, living in austerities, and that enables us to be human and also to develop resilience to face adversities. Because life is full of that. For whatever we do, we'll still have to face the world. As a yogi, it's not being a yogi living in the caves, but it's a yogi living in this world. Swadhyaya is about study of the scriptures, study about inspiring literature that leads us to be better human beings. Ishwar Pranidhan is about being aware of the creation, the laws in the universe, the laws in the creation, the guidance, the instructions given by God to us in the revelation in the Vedas. So if we are attentive to all the things, we'll bring ourselves to be less and less disturbed and more. As we say, yoga is the journey for the self, towards the inner self, by the self. And it's all our making. On this day, of International Yoga Day, I can only wish you that you try to connect with yourself. 24 hours a day, let's take 1 minute in each and every hour. We have 24 minutes, which we can share, say in free fold, 8 minutes to sit down in silence and meditation. 8 minutes to spend in some deep reading, contemplation, pondering over inspiring subjects of life. If you can read the Vedas, fine. Otherwise, come down to the Upanishads, to the Darshan Shastras. Otherwise, take inspiring books like Panchatantra, Hitopdesh, and all the things with all the inspiring stories. You have also the Aesop fables in English. You have the Fable de la Fontaine in French. So all these, in all the cultures, in all the languages of this world, we have lots and tons of literature which are inspiring. So 8 minutes in that daily, and 8 minutes sit down, analyze what we've done, where we went wrong, take the pledge that we won't repeat those same errors and omissions. And for whatever we did good, we'll pledge that we'll do it 10 times better the next time we have to do it. We'll be able to connect with ourselves. We'll be able to be better persons. We'll be able to be harmony, to live in harmony between what we think, what we talk about or write about, and how we live the things practical in our life. Yoga is the journey to the inner self for inner peace. And from that inner peace, we'll be able to create a peaceful environment for our family, for our friends and relatives, for the community, for society, for the country, and for the world at large. Thank you for your attention. Just remember, if you have any queries, you can just drop us a line on Messenger, Facebook. Otherwise, write to us, Hindu Center of Atlanta @gmail.com. And for our previous sessions, just log into our YouTube channel, Hindu Center of Atlanta, or our videos on the Facebook page, Hindu Center of Atlanta. Wish you a nice week ahead. Take care, stay safe, stay well, and take the holistic approach of well-being, physical, mental, moral, spiritual, and social wellness. Thank you. Namaste ji.